Hi everyone. Sorry for being a bit late. I had to do another live stream. Typical ILE organisation on my part. So yes, welcome to the ILE Party, where we are going to, talk, discuss, learn about different perspectives, different ILEs across the world, from British Columbia all the way to Jakarta, Indonesia, and some English and German stop spots on the way. So yes, and also my battery's about to run out. Because I was going to help me plug in my computer. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to take some questions from the audience and also discuss different bits and pieces. But first of all, how is everyone today? It'll be fine. Oh, hang on. So how are we on today?
Sleepy and hungry.
Yeah, sleepy and hungry.
What time did people wake up?
Oh, 9 a.m. I can't really complain.
Yeah. Ages ago.
Oh, the Americans had to wake up.
It's almost my bedtime.
I'm already tired. I already finished a long day. No, I did not finish, but I woke up very, very long ago trying to. Does this work?
Yep.
Yeah, it works. Makes sense.
Okay, fine.
I think I rolled out of bed at 12-ish because I stayed up to 4 a.m. because I was working on my test.
Yeah, but he does that every night.
Yeah, I do that. Not special. Well, every night, work nights are not that bad. I usually try to get in bed by 3 o'clock at least on work nights. But,
yeah. I slept at 1 o'clock and slept only until 7 because my husband got up early. So I'm tired now.
Oh, goodness. But I think what we should do is we should just give a little introduction. Everyone can introduce themselves a bit so everyone knows who we are. So some of you guys have been involved in Adaptation quite recently. Other people have been involved for years. So we've got a good mix of people. So I know me talking about myself is probably a bit superfluous at the moment. I think people know who I am. But Frankie, would you like to tell people a bit about yourself?
What do you want to know?
What do you do, and what one or two things which you relate to for ILE?
I'm an artist, but I'm also part-time businesswoman. I help out my family with their businesses, basically, and I'm also a student in 3D art. What else?
And what is it about ILE that you find you've really related to in your life, in the stuff that you do?
Oh, bipolar. I know it's like it's so hard for me to stay in, retain a relationship. It's like come and go for me. And also it's not about I noticed that it's not about the bond itself, it's about the experience, that how much we enjoy each other. That's how I know that I'm ILE instead of LIE when I was being typed.
Yes, I think you're quite recent in that. I only interviewed you a few months ago. So one of the more new ILEs on the scene, which is quite fun and exciting. Okay, Christine, how about you? What do you do, and what is it about ILE that you relate to?
Yeah, what do I do? I'm maybe a bit an older ILE. I'm 55, and I did a lot in my life, so that I cannot even summarize it, so that it makes sense. I had many professions and educations, and with a wide range from science to I was a paramedic, and the last 2 years I do mostly work with refugees here in Germany for the church. And what do I relate to? I think being very curious about like everything without ever making something of it. And that is one thing. And yeah, I was inquisitive as a child and always wanting to try stuff and never believing what people told me until I tried myself. And also, after I got the type, I really understood a bit more about why I like people, but somehow it does not really work so well. And yeah, that is also something I relate to. Yeah, so lots of different interests. Okay.
Okay. And Al, how about you?
I've been part of WSS for quite some time, but sort of on the periphery. I guess when I first joined, you had thrown me into a bunch of admin roles, and it was just too much obligation and too much conflict, especially back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm not really sure.
I think you were perhaps one of the first ILEs, other than myself, to be involved in WSS. And then you also went to Japan for a while, and also things were a bit different there. And then now you're running the British Columbia, the Vancouver Sociological Society, which is
attempting to run it. We also have a prominent member, Larissa. Yeah, but for some reason, anytime we set a date, no one shows up.
Oh,
yeah, it's one of those Facebook phenomena, I think.
Yeah, no, I used to find that was a problem as well. Eventually, just get enough people to show up. You've got to get enough people. Yeah. And Leighton.
Hello.
So
I mean, I'm passionately curious about absolutely everything, and I have to dissect absolutely everything I see around me. And I mean, I'm a bit of a contrarian as well, so atrocious FI. But other than that, I mean, I studied history and philosophy of science, which in itself just screams NETI. And I worked in space policy, so I'm obsessed with space. And then I worked at the Institute of Physics doing physics policy. So, I mean, I think I'm pretty ILE in that sense.
Okay, thank you, Leighton. How about you, Brooke?
Hey, I'm in America, obviously. I'm 31. I teach high school, that's secondary science, but I went to school for anthropology. I've kind of bounced around a lot until I found my perfect home of chaos.
That's pretty cool. And what got you into high school science?
Well, you can't really do much with anthropology. I'm not enough of a people person to kind of grease palms and do the whole networking thing. And I needed chaos. So there's always something new going on all the time. So definitely different each day.
I remember when you were really into paleopathology.
Yep. Yeah, and I teach an elective class in anthropology, but I'm also adjuncting a college class. So I kind of an anthropology professor, I guess, adjuncting, but yeah.
That's pretty cool. Okay. Now I remember you had all these drawings, different dead people.
Bones, yes, bones.
Dug up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't have any here. I was looking around. I think they're all in class.
Yeah.
I've got loads of dead things around my room. I love dead
isn't
things.
It awesome? I like bones.
Yep.
I don't like the squishy stuff. None of that gross.
Yeah. No spleen.
I love morbid stuff too.
I've got a two-headed it's a two-headed embryo within a jar with loads of oil in it.
Did you put it in the jar yourself, or did you buy it?
Oh no, my friend bought it for me because he just knows I like that sort of thing. It's not a real embryo either. It's a two-headed baby. I wish I could show it you right now, but I'm not actually at home. It's awesome.
So you didn't go raiding fetuses from the morgue or anything like that?
Yeah,
I would if I could.
That's acceptable.
I'm gonna, Leighton, you are the modern day Aswang.
I'm not aware of Aswang. Who's Aswang?
Aswang is a Filipino mythological creature. It is basically, by day, it appears like a normal human being. But at night, the upper half, by night, the head detaches from the body and flies around at night and makes a tick, 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 tick sound. And then out of its mouth unfurls a long proboscis-like tongue, and it sucks out the fetuses from.
Ew.
So yeah, like the modern day Aswang.
Yeah, that does characterize me.
How
I
is
do need
that
to look into
called?
this now.
How is that called, Jack?
Aswang, ASWANG.
Okay, interesting.
Zara's told me I should stop talking over people. I think that's good advice. Let's get some questions from people so that people can answer questions rather than me dominating everything. I think that would be best. Let's see if any questions already, actually. Here's one from Productivity Nil. Are ILEs good at changing their personality when in different real life situations?
I would say I think so, yes. I think I have a chameleon quality adjusting to the situation. It does not work every time. Sometimes it goes wrong very badly, but usually I think I'm sometimes to the point that I think I do not have the one identity. That's my answer.
I'd completely agree with that. I mean, I think I'd change how I speak depending on who I'm with as well, and it's very noticeable when I kind of look back at it in retrospect.
I think it's more that I have like two sides. Like there's me, and then I have like a socially acceptable mask, but I don't really have anything in between that. Like it's like, oh look, I'm in a professional environment. I have to talk to, I don't want to say adults, but I'm technically an adult. But I have to talk to people that I'm not like super close with. So I have two extremes. It's not really like for every situation I change. It's like, look, here's socially acceptable, charming, professional. And then there's sitting in pajamas playing video games with crumbs and grease. Two different. I have two differences. They say I'm good at changing in between, but
Makes sense. Okay, I mean, I know for myself, I felt like I've had to sort of change myself more over time because I think I was a complete weirdo when I was younger, and I think to not have everyone think that you're a weirdo, you have to hold yourself back a lot more. So I think I've become a lot better at holding myself back in social interactions and toning it down. But also, I find that I can, depending on whether I'm sort of leading, I think I'll be a lot more directive when I'm leading. But I'm not leading. I become a lot more quiet and thoughtful and more inclined to listen to other people. And so I can see myself changing in those respects. I also have like a very sort of calm analytical side, but I have a sort of crazed hyperactive side which comes out more rarely now. So I can think so. I think there is. Question is, am I changing my personality in a way that is useful to the situation? And maybe getting better at that over time. I know Kat's told me that how I interview people changes depending on who I'm interviewing. Whether I become more sort of gentle and sort of very sort of supportive and nurturing, or if I get quite tough with people, and I get quite tough with Kat when I was interviewing her. So maybe. Other question. Oh, John wants to ask about ages. We already found out about Christine's age, in her 50s. I'm 28. Frankie, how about you? Is it polite to ask people's age? I'm not sure. I don't think I even mind so much.
Yeah. It's actually normal to ask age in my country whenever you meet new people. I'm 25, but I'll be 26 this year.
Okay. And Al, how about you?
Sorry, I'm going on 34, but I'm often sort of the least mature mind in the room, I'd say.
And we got Leighton. I know you're probably the baby here, Leighton.
Well, I'm constantly told that I look like a 17-year-old, and that hasn't changed for so long, but I'm actually 24.
Yeah. That's good. I'm often, people say I'm like 18. Well, not anymore. I'm more like 22 now. But I'm always a few years younger than I actually am. People estimate my age. And Brooke, you're a little bit older than me, aren't you?
I'm 31. Also, usually seen to be a bit younger, but 31.
It's interesting. Why is
I'll live forever.
Yeah. Why are you all so baby faced?
We're all just so carefree. We don't get any stress wrinkles if you don't stress out about anything.
Ah, I see.
Well, speak for yourself about stress. I'd say curiosity. Baby eyes.
Yes.
Everything's new and exciting.
Everything is a wonder. Everything new you find is such a wonder and enthusiasm, I think. But at some point you still start looking old. I found out recently. So, but yeah.
I mean, I would say there are a couple of ILEs who are in the queue who I think have higher levels of neuroticism. At least one I know, based on their Big Five results, is a high level of neuroticism. I can see him smiling when waiting for the queue down there. But yeah, so I'd be interested actually late in the next hour to explore ILEs who have higher neuroticism and what that looks like. So I think there's this idea. I think there's this myth. All being very sort of calm and carefree, and there's truth to that myth. Like, I certainly am very low neurotic. I'm an extreme end. Brooke, you're quite calm and easygoing as well. Leighton, I've never seen you have a sort of a panic attack or freak out. Neither are you, Al. And
I'd say I'm fairly high on the scale, though.
really? Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, me too, I guess. I assume.
Neuroticism. I'm low on scale.
So you're low neuroticism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I got worried once in a while, but I'm stress-free most of the time.
Makes sense.
Left to my own devices, I'm very stress-free, but if I'm surrounding myself with arseholes, that's very stressful.
Yeah, I get stressed out at work, but I think that's just because there's so many people and so many things to do at the same time. But like now, this quarantine's been awesome. Super chill. Like, I'm doing work, but I'm not around people all the time, so I'm not being like drained. So it's like I get to work a lot, but I also don't have to worry about seeing people.
I think it's that, like, you've got enough.
There are always fun things to do.
Enough time to get your procrastination out of the way, and then what else there to do? Oh, do something useful for once. That's good. Okay, let's see what other questions there.
I need to let the dog out.
Oh, John Paul's asked. Oh, we've already said this. We've already said about the physiognomy of ILEs. Here's one from Productivity Nil. Good question. So before discovery, were you an ILE? Yeah, you can. So you got to go onto live stream, and then you can type in on the comments in the live chat. You can. Zaj can ask some questions as well. That's going to be fun. So before discovering that you were an ILE, did you think you were a different sociotype?
Yeah. I was LIE for a year, I think, before I discovered I'm ILE. I think until now, I still think that function-wise, I still relate lots of it with LIE, but then quadra-wise, I can't really relate to description of the gamma. That's the problem.
Yeah. And anyone else thought there was something other than ILE?
I didn't in socionics, but I was into like the whole MBTI, the breadcrumbs that people usually follow to get to socionics. But in there, I thought I was INTP, INTJ, because that's generally what I tested. Turns out I'm just kind of a stereotype of ENTP, ILE7. So.
Yeah. I think that we're quite lucky that, certainly for going across other systems, our type probably translates the best out of the types. We're like the least likely to be confused for something else in another system. And other people assume it works for them the same way, and it doesn't. I've always thought ILE made sense. I've looked at the alternatives just to really check them to see if they really made sense to me, and they none really did. I've been typed differently though, very recently. I've been typed as Esselie by Timur, so that's an interesting one. I did a live stream on that just before as well. I was a bit late.
Do you find that ILEs are just very obvious, like from the second that you meet them as well? Because I mean, how I got into socionics, it was the first time I met Anna, and Jack, you know Anna, and she typed me, she explained socionics a little bit and typed me almost instantly. But I find with ILEs, it's very obvious within like the first 10 seconds. Any TI just, shouts at you.
I would like to think that's the case. I've had difficulties actually in some cases, because when you meet enough people and you can sort of, you've got so different manifestations. I think it's easier if you're like a young bloke, ILE. I think that often suits the sort of the stereotype, young bloke ILE. But when you get someone who's older,
I get ENFP a lot because I'm a girl, so I have to be,
I got type FI dom and BB system.
Well, you're a girl, so you can't be a secret.
It's because I'm an artist. That's the thing. Like, okay, you're using your feelings or identity to create your art. You're FI. I'm like, okay, maybe. I'm also 4 in Enneagram. That's why they type me that way.
I was also thinking I must be NF. I was sure I'm any lead. When I very long ago was reading the Jung text, I knew I'm any lead. It was obvious. But I was always thinking I'm NF. And on the other hand, I always thought I'm using any FE. That was also somehow clear, but I never really, in the beginning, I did not know a lot. So afterwards, I was very surprised, and also I was absolutely not surprised because it instantly made sense. So, but I also thought I must be NF. So, yeah.
I think there's that NF crossover. I think, especially for female ILEs, and it's not to be unexpected because ILEs are any leading, but also extroverted ethics mobilizing. And that come out quite a bit. And I think the idea of the development of an ILE perhaps overly masculinized in a certain way. And I think
it's easier for boys, right? It's easier for men to just be the ILE, and for women it's not that easy, I think, oftentimes to stand out a bit. I'm not sure how to say it, but I think it's a different thing for boys. It's more natural to just be straight ILE.
I think ILE is pretty quote-unquote feminine in men's standard when I'm looking through the description too. Like, ENTP and in MBTI is pretty, I don't know, SE-like. Like they're pretty confrontational and stuff like that in description of MBTI, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think there's certainly reading through if I look at the 16 personalities profile, the ENTP sounds like an LIE more than an ILE. So there's also that difficulty that the quadra differences aren't made clear in other systems compared to socionics. And I also think that when I've been typing a few female ILEs, and sometimes I get it wrong as well because I'm not quite sure what is like actually what looks like me or isn't. There can be type bias for identity where you think someone's a bit different to you, so they can't be the same type as you, which can factor in. But then you can go go the other way and overly broaden your net to include people perhaps aren't ILE, but think, oh, maybe they're like me in the bit, maybe they actually are too much like me. So I think there can be difficulties. Yeah, but other people say there is sort of a thing like there's always like that one guy the ILE who pops up and everyone knows they're there, the obvious ILE, and sort of a specialization of our type. They make our type talked about in a special way, which is different from all the other types, I find. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Here's one from Instars. When you are alone at home, do you talk to yourselves out loud?
Yes, also to my dog. And we both answer. And not at home alone. Also out just in general. I just talk to mutter to myself.
I also talk to my dog and to everything.
I talk to my cat But
Yeah.
I don't talk to myself. I sing all the time if I'm on my own.
Hang on, I just got to help my fiance connect up. I'll be back in a bit.
But isn't it connected to your YouTube?
Oh.
And don't you talk to your dog, Or don't you have a dog? You have a picture of a dog in your...
Yeah, I have a dog. I don't speak to him often because I feel that his IQ is kind of at a child level. But I do have a habit of engaging
Not
other people
like a child,
midway through a
really.
thought. Yeah, like, but I don't know.
Do not talk to kids. Okay, don't talk
What
to
can
your
you say
dog.
to a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, right?
I think people still talk to 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, I don't talk to him because he has the mentality of a child.
But if I prepare a lecture or stuff, I tell everything to the dog. It works
But
nicely.
in this sense as well, do you guys have quite close relationships with your pets?
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yes.
Good question.
I think yes, when it's convenient for me. Depends on my mood.
I think my husband is a better caretaker for the dog, but somehow I think I'm not stable in that. It's difficult to describe. The dogs always meant a lot to me, but I think I'm not so stable in the awareness to constantly doing stuff
Yeah.
you should do. And so I think I'm not the most reliable caretaker for an animal or someone else or even a plant. But the dog means a lot to me, of course. But my husband is much better at caretaking.
Yeah. It's unstable. Like sometimes I'm very affectionate, sometimes I'm like I don't care, like cook and stuff like that. It's not a constant thing.
And do you also invent new names all the time for the animal? I oftentimes change the nickname.
Yeah. I do that with people too.
Oh yes, great. Me too. I also invent nicknames, or they invent themselves.
Out of thinner. Jack, do you have any pets?
Yes, we had a.
Do you have close relationships with your pets? Do you
talk to
communicate
them?
with them?
Do you talk to children also?
I find that I grow very close to my pet when I've been exercising, because she likes the smell of men.
What animal is it?
Oh, a cat, a very fluffy, half Persian, half tortoiseshell cat. She's like a gold fluffball cat. We call her the Hermione Crystal Air. We just call her Tilly for short. And I find whenever I've been perspiring, she becomes very attracted to me. She likes my odor. And I know whenever any other men come into the house, they also have odor. She goes towards them. So it's a strange cross-species pheromonal attraction.
When I said close, I didn't mean sexually close. Oh, good.
Oh dear. Yeah, no. I'm close to my cat. I think she's very affectionate. She's grown more affectionate over time. I think. Yes, I think she's an introverted ethics cat, though. I think she really needs to invest in close one-to-one relationships.
She's a cat.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah. Let's see any other questions. There are probably quite a few. I'm just missing them because I'm a bit bleh on this. Let's see. Oh, there's a private chat going on as well. That's cool. Giancarlo and Andrew talking on there. Yeah, we'll let them in around half an hour. I think that'd be good. Let's see what else is. Here's one from Instars again. Do you guys hate strict schedules, or do you prefer to manage your own time?
A little bit of both. I hate strict schedules, but I also don't function well without a schedule. So I kind of have to make my own. Like, I hate it. I rebel against it. Like, why are you telling me what to do and when to do it? But given my own time and things to do, chances are it's not going to get done until the last minute. So I hate schedules, but I need a schedule.
Oh,
There's a cat at my window. That's not my cat. I don't know whose cat that is.
She likes your man smell.
When is this?
Next question.
Brooke answered that perfectly. I can only say that's true for me also.
It's perfect for me as well. I need schedules, but I hate them.
For me, it's more of like for example, I have a boss. I want them to know to place me into a standard and let me maneuver around it instead of their strictly restrict me. Just give me a standard, you know.
Yes, what is expected of me? I want to know that, and then I want to have a certain amount of freedom, but I get nothing done if I do not have certain limits. Yes.
I know for me, I find if I'm just given a large amount of time, I find if I'm complacent with that time, I'll procrastinate. And so as long as I've got a degree of urgency, I think I can get it done. But I'm not very good at creating urgency for myself. I just get distracted.
Just wait until the very end, and there's your sense of urgency.
Do you enjoy that sense of urgency though? 'Cause I find I really enjoy the last minute. I feel like I'm so activated and so productive, and I love it. But I'll procrastinate if I've got too much time for something.
For me, it depends like how passionate am I with the subject. If I'm really passionate about it, I'll do it in the first start. But if it's like something I have to do, then I'll do it last minute, you know.
That's a very good point also, yes. If it's fun, you instantly start. Excuse me.
Oh, sorry. I also find that I'll put emphasis on the wrong thing. If someone gives me a list of things that need to be done, if I'm the one prioritizing, I seem to choose the opposite of what the client wants or what someone else was expecting.
Can you say that again?
Sure. So if I'm given a list of 5 tasks and I haven't been told which one has priority, often I find I'm tackling them in the reverse order that someone was expecting.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Makes sense.
Time-wise as well.
Interesting. Yeah. Could see that.
I think actually what's really helped me recently is I've been dithering and delaying over this personality test for years, and I get into I get into like bursts of energy, and then I sort of let it die, and look, I'm doing something else, and I have to pick it up again. But recently, I found that something which has really helped is I got less than 3 months to complete this test for a business opportunity. So that structure has created urgency, where now I feel far more able to sort of push through and get it done. So I think there is that. You need. I think once time is structured, once there's urgency placed and there are consequences, then I think we can cut through the different possible things we could be doing, working on this, working on that, and actually have something which actually outlasts just our enthusiasm in that moment.
I agree. Like if I set my own deadline, it's not really a deadline. But say when I was at university, the deadlines for my essays and whatnot, I would never miss a deadline. But that sense of urgency was kind of needed as well.
Same.
Yeah, never miss deadline.
I often find that I'll perform poorly if I'm pressed, but I feel like I'm performing better. If that makes sense. Like when I was back in university, if I waited until the last minute to start writing an essay, I'd feel incredibly motivated, but I noticed the trend that my marks would suffer quite a bit without that time for revision.
Yeah. No, exactly. I found that sort of a difficulty for me. Also, I can't make myself do the essay until the last few days. But as a result, there's going to be that sacrifice being made because we haven't put in the time. I just can't discipline myself to actually do it until those last few days. I just can't. It's like I'll get distracted. I'll start trying to and end up somewhere completely different. End up finding anything to do other than the thing I'm meant to be doing.
But when I had to write the master thesis, I think I did it differently. I knew I have 6 months, and I loosely planned a bit forward, the big milestones, and then I solved it like that I allowed myself to do everything I wanted until 5 o'clock afternoon, and then I started every day. And that was a great habit. I did not work so much every day, but was perfectly in time. And that was a bit, you need to like dare doing that you do not work the whole day. But then you do a burst of like 4 hours straight, and I get a lot done, and that is enough. And that was a great 6 months, actually. And that is a good strategy, I think, if it's a long-term thing. Short term, I also procrastinate, and that's it. So,
yeah, that's actually a really good idea. What do you think, Zara? Should I only start work at 5 p.m.?
Well, I do the opposite. I get up in the morning and I work until 2. And at that point, I feel like I can kind of let myself. It's harder right now just because everything's on lockdown. So it's like I get up, I work until like 2. If I run out of work to do before 2, I start doing chores. I guess that's an example of a strict schedule that I hate. But because I feel like I can't really sit down and have fun until it's at least 2. So it feels like I get a little bit of a work day. I mean, 9 to 2. But
yeah.
And just related to this question, when I was given the option to work from home, I tried it a few times and I was so unproductive that I just decided, no, I prefer working within an office because I will actually get stuff done.
I'm having the same problem.
And you also need the other people around you also working so that you get in the right working spirit. Yeah. That helps me a lot.
Yeah, I have been talking, and actually a lot of my coworkers and I are very close, but we've been like video chatting every couple of days and having like meetings. So that helps. Just that social interaction.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm also like that when there's an essay and back in college. Like if I do it at home, I'll be like, I'm still doing it like on time, but it's like lazy quality, like 60% on top mark, you know. So I force myself like 2 days before the deadline, like having all-nighters in the college, in the what do you call that, library. I'm actually more productive that way.
Yeah, I think that if you're letting people down, you can see they're letting people down by not working. Then suddenly you find yourself able to work. There are social consequences, but it's just you can be appalling to your own time schedule.
Right.
Lack thereof.
Yeah. I mean, I still can get stuff done, but it's not the best, you know. When I'm like in the comfort of my room. Except when I'm very passionate about the thing that I'm doing, I'm okay if I'm doing it everywhere. But if it's like, you know, essay, who likes essay? I don't know. It's something that I have to force myself to do. That's why I can't be in comfort of my home.
Yeah, and I also had a long-term thing once that I committed to in a group of people, and then I had to work alone at home over years, and it never worked out because as soon as the connection was there, I felt really bad and guilty and stuff, and totally motivated doing that, and I never finished this one because of no connection constantly.
Yeah, makes sense. Got another question now from Laura. What has been your experience with SEIs?
I'm not sure. Never met them in real life, so most of the people that I'm close with are IEI instead of SEI.
Oh my God, I love IE. They make really good friends. I've always had really good friends. Like there's no expectation, there's no like romantic chemistry, but IEIs are just the best friends. We just kind of like chill.
I'm friends with quite a few IEIs, and I don't think I've met many SEIs in real life. So
I have. I actually divorced an SEI, so I've got extensive experience. But it's hard for me to say how much of it is SEI and how much of it is just him. So I'm going to give you general problems with the relationship, and you guys can infer what you want to infer. But in general, he was kind of a lazy do-nothing. He
Yikes.
he was in college as like an artist, but he was a lot older than I was also, but he wasn't really wanting to do anything or trying to like improve. Like we were just renting an apartment and he was happy with that. His parents lent him money and he was happy with that. And I was like, in my 30s, I have a full-time job. I have a career. Like, anyways, we ended up getting divorced. He was also kind of pushy in the, what's the rating for this chat?
Oh, everything's not for kids. I've had to tell you.
Okay. He was very sexually explorative, and that was kind of all he wanted to do all the time. And it's like, I've got more stuff to do. It was just kind of lazy, do nothing, lump on a log. So anyways, we got divorced and now I own my own home. I live across the street from the beach and got a couple of jobs. So things are going great. Actually, I think my boyfriend right now is a TE lead. So that's kind of weird, but yeah.
I know for me, I've got an SEI fiance who's sitting in the next room, so I can't say too bad. I
said the bad things. Love the good things now.
The same one, but I think I'm also lucky that she isn't one of the lump on the log sort of people. For her, she knows when she feels she needs to do something, and she can't sit still for too long. She definitely knows how to relax and have a sort of a lazy day. But as soon as she gets something inside of her, tells her, right, I need to be doing something now. I need to be getting up and moving and not just sort of stagnating.
Yeah, he didn't really get that.
She did actually end up quite busy, and she does quite a lot, but it's actually more physical than I do. But it's where she's different to me is also that she's not exploring new things as much, and I have to sort of introduce her to new things. And then she'll come along to she'll sniff at it, she'll wrinkle her nose, back away, and then eventually I can lead her to the new thing, and then she'll sort of take it on, and then she really like it, and then I think introducing her to things.
I think we need to take clips from this chat and have a game show of is Jack talking about his cat or she loves the smell of men. She comes and wrinkles her nose at it. I'm sure if she likes it. Is it the cat or is it Zara?
Zara, how much do I treat you like a cat? Absolutely not. Nah, she disagrees. I don't know. I think I could stretch it a bit. I think I could very much make it ambiguous. Okay, so I'm going to treat you like a cat for the next few days.
Science.
Science. And
Say negative things about him, you're gonna have to marry me anyway. So.
It's true. I'm stuck with her now. I'm committed. Okay. Well, the questions aren't there. Here's one. Kat always like to ask very good questions. Let's see.
I am. Excuse me. I have one SEI friend, and I can just be myself with her. And the other, I'm not sure. But for me, it's super, super comfy and relaxed. Okay, go on.
Okay, that's good. I find it very relaxing around SEIs normally. Yeah, I do. Kat says this: in your personal experience, what does it feel to you like when people are not open to possibilities at all?
Frustrating.
Walk away.
I just think they're dumb.
Yeah, that's kind of a weirdly phrased question because I feel like almost anybody would be like, I hate it when people aren't open. Like even the most polar would be like, well, I mean, it's just the way the question's phrased sounds kind of leading. But yeah, I don't like it. I would say that my biggest annoyance with people in general is willful ignorance, where you're like, you refuse to learn or explore anything else at all, like intellectually specifically. Like that's my number one pet peeve of people. I hate people who do that. Like it's...
Yeah.
It slows me down somehow.
I mean, it's still interesting for me, like how come someone cannot be open for possibilities? I might have a chat or two with them, like trying to analyze their psyche. How come you can't be like that, like, open for possibilities? But I'll entertain it for a while up until then. I'm like, oh, it's still rigid, and I'm like walking away. It's getting boring.
Yeah, also I somehow do not know what I shall do then. Somehow, yeah. If your natural mode is not, you have to dial that down, then I am kind of a bit lost what I know.
I will say though that I have a few ideologue friends who are obviously not open to multiple ideologies or even exploring them, but I use them as kind of what's the word? Just, I ask them questions, I dissect all their views. So sometimes they can be interesting, but generally, if it kind of impacts on me, it's just frustrating that they won't see multiple points of view or even explore them.
Yeah. No, I find I always struggle with people who are just not open to exploring that thing, trying it out. What if they're wrong? Explore the possibility they might be wrong. I'm always willing to explore the possibility I might be wrong. So it sounds not like that. I think just talking to a brick wall, and it does get irritating. And then there's the sort of person who also, if they have a sort of point of view and want to explore that, but also poke at it, they won't let me poke at it, and they'll sort of walk away from the conversation. It's like, no, I can't. Brooke wants to say something.
No, I'm going to say that you have some very vehemently, aggressively requesting to get in from the chat. Andre wants in, and everybody wants Andre in. I don't know who Andre is, but
Andre should be in, yeah, because now that Al's dropped out to go. Hey, Andre.
Oh, all right. Thank you to John Carlos for helping me with my guerrilla marketing thing.
Let me in.
Welcome to the party.
Andre, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I been interested in socionic stuff for a couple years. Active in Jack's Facebook group. I work as sort of like a programmer, architect. Used to be into math. Do a lot of musical things. Once wrote a song cycle with 62 songs. I live in New Jersey with my wife. Anything else?
Yeah, that's fine. That's good. How would you answer this question from Kat?
What does it feel to you like when people are not open to possibilities at all? Yeah, probably as a sort of challenge, like, all right, like you don't think there's anything to this new approach. Like, let me like take all these different angles about how you go about things, like see what might be like a way in, like in the back of my head, process everything you say through the lens of like, why might you be open to this new thing? Like, to me, that's like a difference between any suggestive and any vulnerable. Like, at first, it's just like, here's this challenge, but it comes clearer later whether it's going to work or not.
I think it's that I found it always baffling when someone's told me you can't say anything to change my mind, and like, what? How?
Yeah.
Really? You sure about that? And eventually I was walking away from me because I'll try everything I can to see if I can do it. And I remember when I was younger, I used to also assume people would be interested in things which I had to talk about.
Oh,
and I'd be
that's the
taken
worst.
aback when they weren't.
Oh,
Yeah.
super guilty of that. Somewhat now, but I'm better at reading whether or not people are also interested in what I'm talking about. But whenever I was a kid, I just go on like monologues of whatever my obsession was that week.
You stopped?
I'm able to hold myself back now. I can tell, like, oh my God, they really don't. They're not into this. They don't care. They don't care. Okay, shut up. Go sit in your corner. Just listen.
I think I'm better these days, but I mean, I certainly do start the monologue and then I see their facial expressions.
Yeah, and then you're
okay,
like halfway through and it's like, and anyway.
Yes, perfectly.
I think Zara's become a lot better at telling me when she's not interested.
Yeah, I really need to be told because it's like, yeah.
My girlfriend's an SEE, and I mean, I just have to look at her eyes, and she's just like, it's just blindingly obvious. And I actually appreciate that because, sometimes after I have a monologue, I feel a bit guilty for it. So I actually appreciate when people, have the visual cues which stop me.
Yeah, or just tell me. But that's a good thing about being a teacher now is that I can go off on monologues all day and they have to listen to me. So
That's also
great.
why I like lectures. My husband bluntly tells me, he's SLI, he bluntly tells me, very not charming. I'm not interested.
Charming doesn't really work. Like, I'm not good
Yeah.
at picking up on hints. Like, just straight up tell me. Like, I can't. I tell my boyfriend that all the time. Like, if you want me to do something, just tell me that you want me to do it. Don't be like, man, we should really think about getting some of these dishes washed, right? Like, yeah, I guess. Whatever. Like, what he really meant was go wash the dishes. But then if he said it like that, I would just be like, I'll do it later. And I will do it later, but don't tell me to wash the dishes.
Yeah, but actually I remember that I also sometimes say, just tell me. Yes, true. Did never notice that. Makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't really caught up into like subtle signaling and stuff like that. And my mom is EIE. Is all about like, you know, it's not really subtle signaling. She's telling you her feelings, but at the same time, it's double meaning. You know, like she was like, okay, we don't go to the mall today. I'm like, okay, we don't go to the mall. So I go back to my room, and she got angry with me. I thought you said you don't go to the mall. Can you just be straight up?
Okay, so let's look at another question.
Wait, before this, we have approached an hour. I don't mind dropping out now because I really need a toilet as well. But if somebody else wants to come in, that's absolutely fine.
I could also change if you want.
Jean Carlos, he's in. He wants it.
Carlo, and we've got Malik. I should say that Malik should be prioritized because Malik was part of the group chat before Jean-Carlo, and Jean-Carlo joined at the end. If later you want to drop out, I could bring in Malik. Christian,
lovely meeting you.
If you want to drop back, we can drop.
Bye, Leighton.
Bye.
Super nice meeting you. Bye. So again, I'm also willing to change place, Jack, if you.
Okay, we can add in Jean-Carlo. Yeah. Okay.
I'm also
don't all drop out at once. Like,
I can stick around for a little while.
Yeah,
hello guys.
I watch you.
I think. Did I? Oh, okay. Bye, Christine. If you want to go, but you don't have to go. But we got.
I can also come back. I can. I don't know. I'm leaving now. And what?
Wait, why?
Who needs to leave?
Okay. I stay a moment with Malik to meet him, and then.
Yeah, good idea. And then we can bring.
That's a good idea because I wanted to meet you. Hi, Malik.
Hello. Should I start with introductions or something? Oh, well, simple enough. I'm just a college student who's majoring in philosophy, and I think I'm starting a double major soon.
For what?
I think either psychology or mathematics. I'm not sure yet.
And why philosophy and mathematics? Why do you like those subjects?
I don't think there was like no intrinsic like in it. It's just like I guess I was always attached to it, so if that makes sense. There wasn't really any personal dislike or like I just chose it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, I did philosophy at university. Okay, now let's ask Bella's question. It's my sister. Were all of you badly behaved when you were younger, and why?
I would say badly behaved in the sense that like I was like vandalizing or got in fights, but I definitely kind of did what I wanted to regardless of. I tested boundaries a lot. I was a very big boundary tester. Not like I wasn't going out breaking the law, getting in trouble, that kind of trouble, but I definitely see how far I could push things. And if it was something I wasn't really interested in, then I wouldn't even do it. But like I snuck out of the house a few times, got caught, got in trouble. It's like, okay, well, I guess I can't do that anymore. Kind of thing. Just seeing how far I could. Like I kept escalating until I hit like a wall. And it's like, well, that's where I go.
Yeah, I think. Oh, yikes! Sorry. Oh, you can go first.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think I had this like, NE plus TI vision in my mind of like what is a perfectly just, like perfectly competent authority. And I think I would, take that and test that against like my parents and my teachers. And like, so every time like a teacher would seem to be doing something like, just because it was really their personal bias, or they were just trying to enforce a rule, and it, didn't seem like the actual, like I would, start like debating their like educational approach.
Yeah, I ask why a lot.
Are you really who you claim you are? Yeah, and I think it was just like being okay with like arbitrary uses of power sometimes when they don't go like too far. Like that took me a while to develop. Like before I was like, if something is not lining up, if something seems unfair, like if something seems intellectually dishonest, it's like, let's talk about this right now. Like I'm going to just start talking about it.
Yeah, I would also ask why a lot. I was definitely one of those stereotypes of like, why should I do this? Like even now in my job, if I don't get a good reason why, chances are I'm not going to do it. I have a lot of things that are worth doing that I know why I'm doing it. I'm not going to go out of my way to do something just because paperwork's a big issue. Like, why am I doing this? 7 different spreadsheets to do the same thing. Like I'm not going to do it.
I guess
I'm just not.
You go first.
I was about to say, I guess from my personal experience, it was more of like I got in trouble for talking too much. If that rings any bells for you guys.
Yes.
Especially like in the 5th and 4th grade, like I would always I guess like miss recess simply because like I don't know, it was like small things as in like having a conversation with like a neighbor, or if not someone across from me. And so like I never realized it until like 7th or 8th grade. So that was a cool story there.
Yeah. I know I was appallingly behaved when I was very young. When I was like 4, I used to irritate. I was just completely wild. I think I was one point where I think I was like just turned 4, and I hadn't quite been potty trained, so I sort of pooped, and then the people were being annoying to me and unfriendly. I chased them around the school with poo all over my hands, so that got me into trouble. Yes, and just for the rest of my life, even up into secondary school, I used to wander around the playground just irritating people. I didn't really have many friends. I just was associating myself with every single person and just irritating them, finding a way to wind them up. So yeah, I think I was pretty badly behaved. I got better over time and started to rein that in. But there's still situations when I was like 17 or 18 where there was arbitrary power structures, and I didn't like those. I didn't like when someone, for instance, what I really didn't like, went on a sort of youth camp, and there are people who are my age and younger telling me what to do, telling me when to go to bed, and they would be marching around outside the door checking people had gone to bed. I had no patience for that at all. So at one point I stayed up to like 4 a.m. and then when everyone else had gone to sleep, I then crept into the school, not the school, like the youth the group, like big hall where everyone had their assemblies in the day, and I took down this big papier-mâché thing which they spent months creating. I took it down and I dragged it all the way to the other end of the entire campus, and I stashed it in someone's bedroom. And yeah, that was fun. No one could understand how it managed to get to the other end. I nearly got expelled and sent home twice because I was making some people cry because I was saying sexual innuendos around them because they were meant to be telling me what to do, and I thought I'd irritate them. So yeah, Zara actually went to the same youth camp, but she didn't come along on that particular one. She didn't see me being a complete insufferable asshole. But yes, no, I can be very badly behaved. I've stopped now. I'm very well behaved.
So
it's like, ooh, nothing.
Are these the things you talked about in the video where you're in SLE?
I don't
Yes,
think.
maybe. Yeah. Also, I also answer that and then I leave. For me, it was when I was small. I had two cousins, and we stored every matchbox and every knife, and we tried everything. And we almost burned down the house once. And we were always trying stuff. Don't burn the spray bottles, and of course we burned the spray bottles. And tried to build something that swims, and always were wet, came home wet, and stuff like that. And we damaged a lot, really. At one point, my brother and I tried to make caramel, and we ruined some pots at home, and every stuff like that. Also, often hospital. My mom came home with my brother, and then she had to go with me because I broke something. But I was not so brave, actually. But I remember that at school also, I was the one that then pointed out when the teacher was unfair. I was really not very brave as a person, but when it was unfair, I had absolutely no problem telling them, because I was, even as a school child, thinking it's only a teacher, it's a person like me, and I tell them. And I also went to the major and stuff like that, but never for myself, always only for the others, for the rules, and because it's unfair. I had no problem saying that, and it's the same to this day, but for myself, difficult. So it is. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna leave.
Oh, Chrissy, thank you for coming along.
Yeah.
All right,
Nice
bye.
to meet you all. Bye, guys.
Good to meet you.
Cheers.
Right, let's add in Giancarlo. Hey, Giancarlo, how are you?
Hello. You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, I was on the chat on YouTube. That's why I was muted. Also, my dad's making a lot of weird noises right now for some reason.
Is it like chopping sounds?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing there. I don't know. Wasn't really paying attention.
Giancarlo, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, me? I am a college student. I currently live at home, but I used to live on campus before the whole COVID-19 thing happened. I am majoring in bioengineering. I'm 18 years old, so I think I'm the youngest here by far.
Baby now.
I'm pretty sure. And I just found out I'm ILE around like a few days ago in a private interview with Jack, basically. Yeah.
Okay. And let's see what questions we can ask. Let's see if any more here, which you can add your insights to, Giancarlo. Is one from John Paul. Isn't insincerity antithetical to genuine connection and a poor long-term social strategy?
I think it depends on what you want to get out of it. Like, do I want a genuine connection, or do I just want this certain interaction I'm having to go pleasantly and get it over with and go away?
Yeah, I find for me, I try to be not lie as much as possible, because I know that if I do lie, I'll get into trouble with people, and then it'll be unpleasant, and people say you're a liar, and I don't want to be in that situation. People are calling me a liar. So
but being insincere isn't the same as lying. It's just not saying the certain things, which isn't the same.
Oh yeah, no, I do that a lot. That's fine. I can be very insincere that way. Yeah, I think if I can sort of smile and nod, then I think that usually works very well. If there's nothing constructive to be said otherwise. Yes, there's actually I think there's like a personality test that actually uses the term leisurely to describe someone who nods and smiles and then goes to do exactly what they were doing just before. Yeah.
Sounds like me.
Me, exactly. Me too. Always nod and smile. Oh, I was wanna also answer this question. I will say that the first part, that antithetical to genuine connection, I agree with that, but I don't necessarily agree with that second part of the question. Like, I think that, like long-term, I don't think that insincerity is necessarily a poor strategy for long-term social strategy, because basically, like I don't think that it is realistic to like expect that, because like ideally if everyone were more sincere, I think that the leaders will also have to be honest with their beliefs and proposals and political views and stuff. But the reality is that the political atmosphere is so is so convoluted in ideology and agendas and personal interests, that it's not realistic to be fully sincere without just sort of weeding yourself out. And that's it. Yeah. You just can't, basically.
You're complicit in so much stuff that you can't be. You as soon as you start to be sincere in a certain way, something which you're actually doing, perhaps out of the best intentions, will suddenly be completely ruined, and there'll be bad consequences from it. So it becomes a very convoluted atmosphere. I don't know. Maybe if I were to get involved politically with things, I'd actually run into trouble there quite quickly.
Yeah, there was a sorry.
Oh.
Sorry, there's a clarifying question about the insincerity and how that related to what I said earlier about kind of faking it at work. But in general, that's usually at the very beginning. So like for a couple of months, I might do that, then slowly start being more myself to get it. Like, it's like, okay, we're getting kind of on, then I'll say something and I can tell instantly if everyone's like, whoa, that was weird. What just, and then I'm like, okay, can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
Then
exactly.
I wait a little while, then like wait a couple of months, and it's like I might say something else. And now everyone I work with, we're friends. They know how weird I am, but I still have to be careful about like some things, because sometimes I get looks and it's like, that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, slowly letting the crazy in. Thank you.
I think there's like a few instances. Oh, I'm so sorry.
This seems to be a trend. You can go first this time.
I was about to say there probably been like 4 or 5 instances where that happened to me, and I actually got people to hate me, but unintentionally.
Happened to me all the time in elementary school and middle school as well. All the time.
Yeah, like it's hard for me to tap into like the social atmosphere and stuff like that when I was like in middle school and elementary school. That's why people doesn't like to hanging out with me a lot, because I display that kind of emotion that is inappropriate to the situation. But at the same time, people be like, oh, you have to be honest about your own emotion. I'm like, I'm being honest, but you're running away from me. Like, what? So I'm confused. So I'm just like, just stay in the corner of the room and do my shit,
Exactly. I'm the same way. Yeah, it's so ironic how like people tell you to be your true self, and whenever I express myself in a way that's not socially appropriate, then I'm suddenly not no longer a friend material. So
yeah.
So this is a great opportunity for me to avoid talking about my own feelings and instead talk about socionics. I find that a common topic is that people who value FE and people who value FI are both accusing each other of being like, quote, fake, which I guess is similar to insincere. And I think, for FE, the idea of being real is like, if you are really experiencing this emotion, like you let it out, and then people know that. So it's like you accuse the FI people of like, oh, like if you felt this way, like why didn't you externalize it? But then like the FI people, they turn on the FE people and being like, why did you express all of these emotions if it wasn't this reflection of this stabler emotional self? Now I believe all these fake things. But it, for the FE person, it wasn't fake. It was just the getting the stuff out in that moment. So that's, I think, that's a way that I frame insincerity to avoid going around in these circles, like that there's these two kinds.
Yeah, it's not really being insincere. It's like, why do I want to talk about that? Like,
yeah. And
I'm pretty open as a person. Like, you can talk about anything to me. I don't have limit usually.
Same.
Yep.
I'm pretty much an open book. I just know that there's some things people probably won't want to read too much into, which is, that's what I have to say about myself. I don't know if it's necessarily true. But also, I found that my time at school, I said, I had no filter. I just did whatever I felt like doing, and it alienated lots of people. It was too much crazy. And over time, I found that
when I go into new social situations, become more cautious and more about, what do? I turn off the extroverted ethics. I stop trying to create a reaction in people. And so I default back on my extroverted logic. I rest on the fact that I've got lots of factual knowledge and I can just listen to what people are saying, understand what they're trying to say, and offer different things which could be helpful to them. That's less satisfying for me in that moment. But over time, when I'm more aware of where my boundaries are with people, then I can start bringing in the sort of silliness. And that seems to have worked quite well, I think, when you find your boundaries and you push at them. And sometimes people think, oh, you start off quite serious when you warm up. And yeah, no, I relate to what Brooke said a lot there, actually. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say something else. I don't know if it's true for everyone, but like, I guess because I come from MBTI, so I'm kind of stereotypical in the way I kind of describe FE, but I tend to have different ways to present myself for different circumstances, and it's not being fake. It's just that when I'm around that certain group of people, I just have different feelings. Like for my, I belong to an organization in my university that is well, back when I was still on the pre-med track, but it's a long story. I'm not gonna get into that. So the thing is that around them, I will be very quiet and very formal, very I will just listen to what people will say and just sort of try to give feedback, as you were saying. But when I'm around my friends from that other fellowship I'm in, with that is more informal, I am like very boisterous and loud, I'm just like, I go crackhead mode, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I guess I guess it's just natural for me. I don't know if it's true for FI types. Like I'm not faking anything. Like if I am being formal in a professional setting, it's not fake. It's just I just don't feel like being like energetic around those people, like the vibe of the environment. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's like FE within a NE context. It's like, the primary question is the NE question, like where am I? What's going on here? Like what's the landscape? And then the energy that gets generated is sort of inside that.
I think there's also something to be said about extroverted ethics in the ILE as a mobilizing function. It's also a bit more inert. So we don't just blend in to what the mood is around us. We sort of want to be able to sort of shape that mood ourselves to some degree, or at least not count out whatever other people say. That means we can sometimes express ourselves in a way which is not in alignment with the actual mood of the occasion, because we want to sort of in a slightly different direction. Learning how to do that appropriately is sort of the challenge.
Which ones were inert?
Like mobilizing function, also leading and ignoring and vulnerable.
Yeah, that's why I don't really like to hang out with people for too long, because I have this inherent need to entertain people around me. If they're not being happy around me, I feel like bad for some reason.
Yeah, in some systems.
It's very exhausting. That's why I don't really like hanging out with people for too long.
Yeah, I've definitely been mistyped as an introvert back in the early days, but for that reason. Like I'm not very socially extroverted, but it's like everything comes from, I'm not very introspective, I guess is the word, but yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say.
I do that all the time. I always forget what I'm going to say, but now I remember what I'm going to say. I wanted to let Andre talk because I feel like I'm overtaking this chat.
You just got here.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm probably going to have to go in like 10 minutes.
So I always feel like I'm talking too much, but I was going to say that. Yeah, I think that in general, I'm sort of the same on this or the same way. Like I do want to entertain the people around me as Faranka. Is that how you say your name? I'm sorry if I chopped it all. Like okay, so yeah. So I did mistype myself as an introvert before, because I am like the way my extroversion works is very unusual. Like I don't like to be with people most of the time, but when I'm with people, I am very loud and expressive, and I like to engage in conversations and share ideas, stuff like that. Like I can't be like, but like I think that SEIs and introverted perceiving types are the other way. Like especially with FE, like SEIs and IEIs, like I will find that they are more often around people, but they don't have that much to. They don't talk as much. They just need to be around people.
Yeah.
I find that true for my mother, for instance. She's a very quiet person, but she always has to be around people. She gets very, or like she just gets very depressed and sort of lowing energy. And me, it's like once a week makes it for me of like informal social interaction. That's which most people think it's introversion, but I actually get energy from my own people.
My take is that like tolerance for like the actual like embodied physical presence of other people is more of an intuition sensing thing, and introversion extroversion is more about like active engagement. So I think like, you know, an SLI can often just have people around as long as they're not like forcing this like higher energy participatory space.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's what I've observed as well.
Yeah. No, and Giancarlo, what you describe, I've noticed that with me and Zara. In fact, I'm not seeking out social occasions. I can stay inside for months at a time.
Yeah, definitely.
I am perfectly well suited to a quarantine environment. I'm in my element. I'm actually feel quite fine about it all. I don't need to really go out. As long as I'm exploring things, and I've got plenty of it on the internet, I'm fine. Whereas Zara, she really desires more tactile social interaction with people. But also so that when I do go out to social event with her, I have no trouble talking to anyone and everyone. I can just start a conversation, find something interesting to talk about, and just ask them questions, and I find something there to talk about that's interesting. Whereas Zara is far more cautious about actually making those initial connections, making sure that the person's giving off the right sort of vibe. And when she's in those environments, she definitely isn't commanding the center of attention. Whereas I can find myself suddenly commanding the center of attention.
Interesting. Yeah. I find that pretty similar to the difference between my mother and I in social interactions as well. She's careful with like being polite and just sort of the social vibe as well. I think that's an FI demo kind of thing. FI demo demonstrative.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. Andre, what's your opinion on that, since like you write a lot about this stuff on your blog?
Oh, I think politeness is probably just more the straight up FE creative, because it's about the vibe and the energy. It's not about like anything more stable about where you're emotionally situated.
I think they do bleed into one another. One implies the other. So I think it's like in the fluid interplay, you're assessing how you feel about people, but you're also reading the vibes and the general energy to do it as well. And sort of in the middle. And I don't see the same thing, say, for an EIE or an ESC. They sort of, an ESC tend to just go into it. I think there is that interaction. I want to have there's a question from Hypatia 9. What do you think of Boris Johnson? This is the problem though. Then I'm the only Brit now because Leighton's left. But what I should say is that I think it's interesting about Boris Johnson because at the moment he's the only popularly recognizable world leader who I think is an ILE. And it's interesting having an ILE run a country. Some people think that's not even possible. I know Timur would say you wouldn't find anyone of that type running a country. But I don't know. If people don't know him, then that's fine. I guess all I say
just like British Trump.
Yes, people say
that's about all I know of him.
I think he got coronavirus.
He's like less confrontational, Trump. He's more wacky.
Is that good?
Well, there are videos of him on like a zip line, waving British flags with a helmet on, like just being stuck in the middle. And he seems being a bit sort of a comic figure who then became prime minister. He's the only sort of comic figure who became one. So yeah, I've always thought, well, if he could do it, maybe I could do it someday. We'll have to see. Because really, I'm not going to put everyone off if he hasn't put everyone off. Okay, any other questions? Let's see. Oh my goodness, someone's calling me a mad lad. Oh my goodness.
Dangerous.
Oh wait, don't feed the trolls.
Feed the trolls.
I like
They gotta eat too.
Yeah, exactly. They need food too. Trolls are people too.
Yeah. I was once a troll. I know how it is.
Oh, have you guys ever watched Dora the Explorer? It's like the grumpy old troll.
Not in many years.
What I thought of.
Let's see if anything else. People are noticing that most of us are wearing glasses, and that must be something to it. I think the
glasses actually, but like I'm not wearing them right now because I have like reading glasses. So
I usually use contacts, but with quarantine, I've been playing a lot of video games, so I have to have my glasses on.
What kind?
I've been playing a lot of the new Final Fantasy. That's kind of about it.
For some
Overwatch
reason,
too, but definitely Final Fantasy.
For some reason, I like watching them more than playing them. Like I get bored really easy if I play. I guess because I'm playing by myself.
I have a friend like that. Like I get bored watching it. Like I just kind of want to play.
Yeah, it depends on the video game. I get bored in like single, like just solo video games, but multiplayer games are actually very entertaining for me. And gameplay depends on what kind of the video game. Yeah, and how the like live streamer goes about it. Also, I don't play anymore because I get addicted.
In terms of the glasses, like I think for me it's just straight up like SI suggestive fear. Like every time there's something like wearing contacts that's like, this is going to add steps to my day. This is going to add like things that need to be precise to my day. It's like, I know that I'm going to like space out and this is just going to make it even harder to just like get up and get going. And maybe I should just simplify my life, have fewer things to pay attention to, fewer routines, you know, until it seems like not a choice. You know, if I was in some profession where the image had to be good, you know, that might make it different.
That's interesting because I'm kind of the opposite. My boyfriend gives me shit a lot of the times because it takes me like a half hour to get ready in the morning because I have to put makeup on, which I knew I was going to be on camera today. So I did that for you guys. But I definitely kind of follow a morning routine.
Oh yeah, routines definitely is important to me, but it's like the more stuff that's in the routine. Like it can take me a half hour to get ready to do like basically very few things because I just like space out and start thinking about stuff.
Same. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that like in college, I used to be roommates with another person who was very like organized with his stuff, like he's one of those people like that like to like decorate his house. Like he had so many like pictures and posters all around, and my space was like much like less sort of colorful just because I was so focused on my studies that I didn't really like pay attention to like my room and making it look nice or whatever. I don't care about that, but like I never made I was so bad, like I never made my bed when I was in high school, and I started doing it every single day because of him. Actually doing my bed, having to drink my protein at morning, and like just having to be at a dining hall on time. Like it sounds like so few things, and it's kind of overwhelming to me already. Like I zone out like when I'm like doing my clothes, I have to like put on music, or otherwise I go to dreamland and I can't really get things done on time. I don't know.
Speaking of what you said, dang it, I forgot what I was gonna say again. But
yeah.
Oh, actually, for some reason, like I always wanted to decorate my room, but I just never got around to it.
Yeah, same. I like the idea of doing it, but I don't have the energy to because I'm too busy NETIing.
Whenever I was renting, I never did because it's like, why bother? I'm gonna have to take this stuff down anyway within the next year. But I have a house now, so it's going very slowly, but I'm actually doing stuff. So because it's gonna stay like that for a while. I'm not moving in like a year. I don't have to repaint any walls.
I know for the many years in which I stayed in the house of my parents, my wallpaper never changed. It was what my mother painted, little clouds and the blue sky.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like my space. I'm not going to do it.
It's the other way around for me. If the room doesn't scream my name, I'm not gonna be comfortable.
Yeah, I think it might be different for you because that's like your like vocation, right? Like you are this.
Yeah, I'm an artist. That's the thing.
And I think back for my clothes. I've always wanted to dress colourfully. When I was younger, to dress ridiculously colourfully. Because these are the multicoloured cardigans and red and white striped trousers. But so for me, it's more about not necessarily the room I occupy, but more what I put on when I go outside. Yeah. Let's see. Any other questions here?
Cat is bringing the NI.
I'm trying to find. Oh, here we go. Here's one from Zara. Do you like to cook, or do you have no interest whatsoever?
Pointed question at you. Is that?
I like to cook, but it's more of experiment kind of stuff. Like, what if I mix this thing with that thing? Will it taste delicious? That's what I do basically. I was like, even like when I want to, cook something very traditional, like very straightforward, like red rice or something like that. People be like, yeah, it's just salt and soy sauce and a bit of prawn and stuff like that. I'm like, I can't be like that. I have to make something new in it and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. Like cooking as an activity is fun, but it's just like this continuous maintenance of like the food supply and the space where food is cooked. It's just like it never ends, and I'm always gonna have to notice things and upkeep them. But if it's just like let's pretend we live in France today with our food, like then it's fun.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of feel like that about eating in general. Like, I hate that I have to do this 3 times a day. If I don't do it 3 times a day, I'm going to be in pain because I'm hungry. So I usually just go for like the nice, easy, like really quick meals. Every now and again, I'll cook something. But it's because I feel like cooking, not because I hate feeling obligated to eat, but I have to. And I don't like cooking that much, like feeling like I have to. Oh, I got to go now.
Oh, bye, bro.
Bye.
Thanks
for tuning in.
Right. Are we out of waiting list people?
I think we are. I mean, there was Jesse, but I don't think he really got involved with actually seeing the link or anything. But I don't know. I'll check the Facebook chat, see any other ILEs on there who want to come on. Let's see.
We always have room for one more.
Yeah. I think that's everyone. I don't think Jesse's actually coming along at the moment. So yeah, we'll have to soldier on with 5. I think it'll be okay. So what I find for me in cooking, Zara's one actually got me cooking. Before that, I didn't cook very much. I was used to boil an egg, and that was usually it, or make a little bit of pasta. I managed to make pasta. But I found that I agree very much with what Andre is saying. That it's the maintenance side, the getting of the ingredients, the chopping it up. It takes me bloody ages, and I'm terrible at it. It takes me hours. I don't have the energy for all that sort of stuff. But I find if I've got like something to make for other people, then I can find the energy to sort of go and do it and engross myself in doing it. And last night I made fruity Caribbean curry with a dessert of sautéed plantains. So that was, yeah.
That sounds very delicious.
It was.
Yeah, it does.
Christine's back. Fantastic. Welcome back, Christine.
Who? Hello.
Christine.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, if no one is waiting, I come back.
Yeah. One thing I thought was funny about this, like the pre-chat leading up to this, is that there are these questions, like who wants to participate, but instead of answering it, we all sort of tried to like design a mechanism that's like, oh, if I go over here, then you can go over there, and it'll all work out directly. And none of us is like, I am going to take up the space.
Yeah, no SE.
I know that.
That's it. That's the extrovert sensation in the role. It feels unnatural to crowd out other possibilities with our own taking up of space.
Interesting. Great idea. I sometimes try to help my SLI husband cooking. He loves cooking, and sometimes I try to have exactly that problem, to figure out how can I help him and where do I stand and what do I do. And usually we don't do that. He just calls me when supper's ready.
I think, yeah, no, exactly. I just want to say also on that point about crowding out of space. With the IEIs, there's actually some jockeying for position, and some IEIs wanted some of their friends to come along to it instead, and didn't want other people on the chat instead. So we're taking a very different approach, I think. I wonder what happens with the SLEs on here, and how they also compete for taking up limited spaces.
Oh yeah, I want to see that SLE party, like for the beta season. I really want to watch that.
SLE party is gonna be fun.
Yeah, and yeah, Taylor and Damon have to be there, or it's no SLE party if they aren't there.
Maybe I'll come along now to that one.
I think I had problems to understand what you guys are talking about. I have a bit difficulties with the English. You are talking about the chat or about coping?
People's attitude toward entering the chat, like that the ILEs want to be like, perfectly fair and consider everything. The IEIs get political, and then we're like, what happens with the SLEs? Do they?
Wow.
Are they?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was feeling.
Go first.
I did not like when someone is waiting. I do not feel.
Wait, what's that? Oh, pencil sharpener.
Yep.
Yeah, I do. I also do that when I'm talking to people online. I also will sharpen my pencils.
I use mechanical pencils.
Right now, multitasking. So.
I only couldn't find my sharpener yet, but I definitely have a lot to sharpen here.
Okay. So let's change the question now.
Okay.
What do you guys think about identity politics?
I got so many opinions on this. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys talk first. I'm gonna go last.
What is it? Explain what it is, please. What is it?
Oh, I can explain. Like, identity politics is basically, it's sort of the creation or like the existence of certain political movements that are based on sort of group identity, sort of black people. Black people that that form a movement against systematic racism, like created a group, Black Lives Matter, or like the transgender community or the LGBT collective as a political group, like as a group of people that have like a certain set of views. Yeah, it's basically basically if you're Black or Hispanic or LGBT or like any minority, like non-white male, like you like, and if you're politically active, that you're participating in identity politics.
I know. I personally don't really care about people identity, so it's like kind of weird. Like people be like, "Oh, I'm a female," it's like, "Oh, I'm a male." Like, so what? I'm more of like the quality of your work. You know what I mean? Like if you're good at drawing, for example, and then I'm searching for people who's good at drawing, I'll hire you if you're good at drawing. It's not about it because you're a female or male or something like that. I don't think that's relevant for me. It's more about the quality of your work and stuff like your specialty rather than your identity. You know what I mean?
I often think it's not identity politics, but in Germany we had traditional parties where you belong and your father already belonged and stuff like that. And I always thought it's stupid to decide before the problem is there, decide in which opinion corner you are. And I somehow always thought, why can we not in floating, how could you say that? Why do you? It made sense in the 19th century or 20th century when the classes, people lived in classes, and I cannot say nothing about how it is for people that have, let's say, they are what you describe, because I'm not such a person, whether that it matters then for when you have you belong to a certain group that has some problems I do not have. But generally, I think just entering a political party is somehow weird for me. I don't know. I think wait for the problem and see who agrees with you, and the next problem somebody else agrees with you somehow.
Yeah, I mean, like sexism and racism still exist, but I don't know. Like sometimes when the situation is not like it's no racism and sexism anymore, people still like trying to emphasize it, even though it's not a problem in that area anymore. You know what I mean? It becomes too unbearable.
Yeah.
I often thought that we had a sort of a difficulty with identity politics, certainly in terms of how I relate to it. Because I think a lot of us here were probably put into some sort of group or some sort of identity based on our background or our heritage, whether it's because we're female, whether it's because we've got a gender identity, whether it's because of our race, etc. Now, saying that, I know for me it would be the Jewish question. And I find that I've always been quite uncomfortable standing up somewhere as a Jewish person talking and advocating for Jewish people. I find it's a very cringy thing to be doing. And I look at other people,
Same.
yeah, and I see other people made a career out of representing this grouping. Like, I'm a black person for black people, I'm a woman for women. It's the same sort of idea. I find. Don't you have any of your own interests, or are you just going to be like a mouthpiece for for a number of people who share these views that you do and try to push your agendas? Don't you have any interest in just you and your own curiosity rather than advancing some agenda which you identify with? So
exactly.
I don't like. I've always found it very cringy and off-putting, and that's probably one reason why I've always considered myself more of a right winger rather than a left winger, because I've seen that's far more of a left winger thing, even though there is identity politics on the right as well.
Yeah, it's just like even me, like I don't really want to join like extreme like religious group or something like that, even though I'm religious myself, because it's like very group thinking. Like, for example, like it's obvious like one of the member of your religious organization is at fault, but because they're like one of your people, you're excusing them. You know what I mean? Like when you point it out, like they're at fault, you'll be like, oh, you're a traitor.
Yeah,
it's the FI polar there.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I definitely I don't feel at home on either side of the discussion. Like I sort of share some of Jack's objections to the pro identity politics side, but then the anti side, it sometimes just seems so defensive. It's like someone's like, you're comfortable, but it's been some harder for other people. Maybe it's harder to make it as a mathematician if you're a woman, or here's some history about how it was hard for Black people to buy houses. And then it's like, no, I did this myself. I worked to get here. Like, if you worked like me, you would get here. Like it's because you don't know how to deal with the world. You just are a complainer. And so, and it just seems like this knee-jerk need to not listen to people, to not believe people, to just not imagine that like the world contains scenes or pieces that you are not familiar with, that you may have been privileged enough to avoid. So there's I personally, I don't want to stand up and be like Andre for Jews, but it's also like I don't want people to be like what? Like you think things are harder for you because X? Because sometimes it's just true.
Yeah, I think like for me, it was just like if I wanted to do it, then I would do it. It's never like I never leaned like too far in like one direction. Like for some reason it's very cringy to me to sit there and just like fight for like a cause. So like I don't know. It's very hard for me to explain.
I had an interesting such problem last week where for the refugees the rent for the rooms was raised 30%, and it's already had been high. And I got so angry about that And now I thought someone needs to organize protests, but who and where do I write and what do I do? And eventually I decided to write an email about just collecting the facts, and I did send it to the refugee board for the country, but also to a political person in Berlin. And then I started thinking, who is ruling our town? Which party is ruling our town? And maybe now I did send this to those that decided it, and maybe I should send it to another party that is opposing them. And I felt really naive and confused about what is going on and who do I send it. And then I did send it to the others also, and I said, now I'm really excited seeing what comes back, but I felt really naive about that. But that is how I'm totally into the cause, into the daily problem, and I'm not really following who does what with whom, and who likes whom and who is against whom, and I do not track that. So that was so difficult. So in the end, I asked someone. But yeah, we will see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh yeah. So I was waiting for everyone to say what they think, since like I have a lot of experience with this topic, and it's not. When I was growing up, I never really cared about identity politics or anything, or I never understood that way of thinking of like group identity thinking, in the sense that because I am Christian, like because I am Christian, I do this, or because I am from this group, I am, let's say, I don't know, into anime or any other like sort of collective sort of thing. Like I believe this, and I have these views, and I have these certain behaviors. I sort of have the same view as Andre, as in the like, so just because you belong to a group, like it doesn't mean that like you have to like. It's just very okay. I'm gonna use this word, but it's very idiotic. Just because like you belong to a certain group, that you're gonna share your views with like everyone in that group. Like that's like, or that you can speak for everyone, you know. And but the thing is that because I am part of the LGBT community, I like by definition, I was thrown into the identity politics like sort of polemic that's going on online. And so my so yeah, the thing about it is that, for instance, like many of the like more left-leaning movements use this sort of personal experience based reasoning, in the sense that you can't understand like that you are no one to question another person's identity. And if you don't experience that thing yourself, like you won't have as much valid as an opinion as a person who experienced this. And I don't necessarily agree with that. Like there are things you won't understand if you haven't experienced something, of course, but if you have read about it, you have studied that subject, like of course you will be able to have a very deep understanding of it, even if it's just theory, you know. Like of course, like why is your opinion like not worth listening to? Like for like you would, and you see this all the time, like during like political mobs, like you're a white male, like you can't have an opinion on the matters that concern black disabled women because you're a white male. That's BS. I'm sorry. Like in my case, because I believe that trans medicalism is necessary in order for trans people to progress, because we need a metric in order for trans people to gain full acceptance. If you're saying if someone says they identify as gender, like trans feminine gender fluids, you are no one to question their identity because you haven't experienced what they have experienced. No, like that's not something everyone can agree on. We need something everyone can agree on in order for like trans people to be accepted. Like because I was reading your conversation. I was reading your Jack's conversation on Facebook with Tony and Kiana, and I was seeing that problem
SEI
because they don't.
Party.
Yeah, the SLEs, yeah. And the SLEs don't have any, and they have like a substantial lack of FI. Therefore, they're not going to understand the whole like, because you haven't experienced this, you can't have an opinion. Like, we have NE, so I can understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, there has to be a logical framework behind our definitions, or otherwise we can't move forward. And it's the same thing about typology, because there are so many taxonomies. Like, you will see people like for instance, like when Eric typoliced Damon, because they're saying he's not an ESTP. Yeah, he's not an ESTP in MBTI, but he is an SLE in socionics, because different taxonomies. Like, we can't agree on something like, there is no consensus on that. Well, there is sort of a consensus with the big five, but like when it comes to like the 4-letter types, like, there are different taxonomies, and none of them is like, there is like, you can't agree 100% on a single type for a person, and that's why it's not scientific. And same thing about like the LGBT community, in the sense, and trans people more specifically. Like, there has to be a definition for what a trans person is, and that's a person with gender dysphoria. And saying that you're not trans because you don't have gender dysphoria does not mean that you're erasing a person. You're not erasing anyone. You're just pointing out reality.
I think,
my opinion.
I think there is that. For me, there's always been a desire, one, in terms of definitions, to make sure they're clear, make sure they're crisp, and that they're mutually understood, so we can share in our language. I think that's very important. But then the second part of that is not then shutting things down, not then saying you can't do this, you can't do that, because of you didn't meet certain criteria in this thing or that thing. So I think it's a mixture of both, having clear definitions, accepting these definitions, and saying, look, there's nothing, this definition shouldn't be carried away to mean something else other than what it literally is, right? So saying you can't be this because of something unrelated to that, I think that's irritating when people do that. But stick to the definitions, be impartial about what the definitions mean, and then find what is the freedom in and around that, and not then pushing and limiting what people can do, what they feel they have every right to do, based on those definitions.
John Carlos, the phrase you used multiple times in that speech was the everyone in the group. And I thought that was a revealing, like, NE kind of phrase. Like, a group has all of these different approaches, these different agendas inside of it. And the NE task is to, like, reconcile all of them somehow. And if we can't reconcile all of them somehow, then I guess it's not this full group. But I think what the NI people do is they don't necessarily, like, claim that they know everyone in the group, but I think they can sort of collect the energies into, like, its unified form and be like, this is what's important. There's this, like, cohesive meaning. We don't have to, like, go into all the different corners and really make sure that we've pinned down all of them.
I see. Yeah, I see that a lot. Yeah, because beta NF types are very abundant in those sort of movements, especially IEIs, I've noticed. And also the TE polar is sort of something that, like, many, like, right-wing politicians have sort of noticed. Like, I don't know if it's, like, this is just from what I observed, like, don't just take it with a grain of salt. Like, usually a lot of, like, right-wing politicians use this sort of, like, that, like SJWs are delusional, and that they don't base their opinions on facts. And in socionics, like, factual empirical thinking is associated with TE. And I've noticed, like, for instance, like, IEIs are usually the types that believe in, like, tarots or the horoscope, things like that. I'm not criticizing that at all. I'm just saying, like, I think I'm just observing that probably there is some that IEIs being into very, very, like being prone to be into identity politics a little bit. I think it sort of relates to that. You know what I mean? There is, like, a loose correlation between, yeah.
I think let's ask another question, because this one's taken up a lot of time and interest. And also,
I'm sorry, yeah.
Zara doesn't like politics. Zara's fallen asleep in the corner. She doesn't like politics very much. So let's take Vlad's question, which is, how have you approached fulfilling your introverted sensation? What kinds of sensory activities do you prefer? What do people think?
Sleep.
Oh wait, I was muted. I'm sorry. Eating.
Is it me. If you're stressed, live. If you're hungry, just
for me, I think I discovered that more the last years. Getting older, I discovered more consciously than when I was young. Now I can also look back and see that even at a younger age, I very much swimming in the lake. Also, when I go for walks with the dog, I cannot actively access it so well, although I see how it is relaxing to me. But I still cannot really actively do it so well. But more and more I notice when I walk the dog, when I'm outside in the garden, that there are some moments where I think, why don't I do this more often? And my best example is swimming in a cold lake and stuff like that, feeling the water.
I also think if I do like an activity too much, then I'll start to hate it. I don't know, if I'm being like exposed to it too much, then it's never really like about relaxing anymore. Or it's not even about the sensory activity.
Can you give an example for that?
Okay, so like if I, for some reason, like if I play like probably like 7 hours worth or 7 or more hours worth of like video games, like I would probably get like in a very depressive state almost. Or I don't know, if I sleep too much, it's never,
Makes
I don't know,
sense,
it's never really good. But some people enjoy it, and I don't understand why. So they could sit at like they could sit over like 10 hours and just do one thing all day. It's very hard for me. Even if I did like the activity, I still couldn't do it for an extended amount of time, maybe an hour or two at best.
Yeah, it's same for me with food as well. I can't really eat food like the same food every day. I have to like put some spike in it.
Oh wow, I can do that. I actually can.
I can't do the same thing every day. Like I have to put a variety in it and stuff like that.
I might 3 or 4 days. I bring the same food to work, and people already start wondering. And then I have another fast, and then I eat something else for some days. But it's always something. But it's not long. But then I have a phase where I do this, and this, Monday, Tuesday again, and because I liked it on Wednesday also. But then it's over.
Yeah, because I think sometimes I'm paying attention to my food, but sometimes it's like I'm in the middle of some random project, and it's like, oh, I guess I need to eat dinner, and it's like, well, I don't really feel like thinking about meals. Like, why don't I just press the dinner button to be not hungry, and then that way I won't lose any minutes, And it's not even like I need someone to cook for me. It's like I want this thing to not exist at this moment.
That's the point where you take a yogurt, I guess.
Yeah, and that's what would drive me to eat the same thing all week, because it's like, all right.
Cornflakes, and that's it. Yeah.
Because if you can just sort of do it without having to think about it, then it's less tiring to sort of eat something basic and have the same lunch every day. When I was at school, I used to go get exactly the same sandwich every single day, with exactly the same drink. Because I found something I like the flavor of, and at the same time, it's like, okay, I don't have to really think about it. I don't have to end up getting into sort of icky food, which I might not like. Now,
makes sense.
Now I'm at a stage where whenever I'm cooking something, I like to cook something really new and experimental, and usually something from some other part of the world. I'm trying to do a Swedish fish pie sort of thing, but Zara doesn't want that. Too much mackerel and anchovies, but something I want to do. I've done Caribbean, I do Indian, I've done beef Wellington, didn't go so well. So I'm getting into the cooking. Zara's helped me into that more, and also the going actually traveling and trying out new foods. I really like that. I've been taking her to Persian to get Persian, like having Persian ice cream, which I really, really like. But I find that I'm still sort of exploring to try and really get my SI working. So you notice I shift my position. a lot. I don't quite find the right sort of position, which I think is comfortable enough for me. And I sort of I go between different positions, and I sort of they have limited shelf life or sit life until I need to move somewhere else to get to a new comfortable position. Whereas Zara, she's there, she's found a position, she hasn't really moved now. She's really just in it. I mean, she's asleep, which sort of helps. But also at one point when I was younger, I was talked about this before, I really like the sensation of sneezing. So I used to experiment with that. So I had paintbrushes and was like trying to stimulate my, the receptors which cause the sneeze, and just was sneezing and sneezing and sneezing, and that was nice, but also weird. So I'm trying to find that moment, but never quite grasping at it and really appreciating it. And so I need to be reminded just to switch off and just appreciate it. And Zara helps me with that a lot.
Yeah, but it also depends. Like, for example, I'm doing a project I really, really love. I can like ignore food for hours and hours. If I'm being bored, like I'm doing something I don't really like, I'll experiment in my food. I won't eat a bland food. I will experiment with it because I'm being bored. And also, I noticed about myself is that like I like to be comforted. Like I can stay in my bed for hours and hours, but at the same time, I never really feel comforted. I don't know if other people feel like that.
Yeah, it's like not something I can really control. Like that's part of what prevents like an independent use of SI. It's just like suddenly nothing will work, or suddenly there'll be this great feeling, but I won't be able to recreate it really. Like it's
I was like shifting this position of the blanket. I'm like, okay, this is nice. And then a few minutes later, I'm like, not really. I'll shift this another way. And then a few minutes later, I'm like, no, not really. Shift another way.
Yeah. And I mean, Zara knows. She's like, is that really comfortable for you? Are you sure that's comfortable? Like, maybe it isn't comfortable.
Yeah, same.
Also, I never know what I want to eat. If I should think about what should I buy or what do I want to eat, I never really know it until I see something.
Sometimes I sit like this for a long time and I don't even notice, and people are like, "Are you all right?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I didn't think about that my arms existed in the last half hour." So it's really just you feels uncomfortable. No.
I also have two things. Like whenever like I will plan to like go and buy like a specific food, it's like when I'm at the store, like I buy like 10 different things. And also, we got so far into like the videos, and like when I first started, it's like I kept cutting people off, and now it's just like no one has cut anyone off since then. It's kind of like that role SE.
I think maybe we've picked up on each other's talking rhythms and we're navigating.
That's also a possibility.
Yeah, that's part of the FE mobilizing, I guess. I was gonna say something. I haven't seen you cutting anyone off like throughout this live stream. Like, okay, if you want to feel better about yourself, just go watch Jack's debate with Eric, and you will see what actually cutting people off is like. Like you're good, bro. You're good. Okay, okay, you're good.
Pressuring Jack to answer and then not giving him time to answer. That was a bit frustrating, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, it was very hard to watch for me. Like I was like at one point I was like very like kind of getting angry at the fact that like just Jack's points weren't allowed to be made, and so.
But pressure him answer this, and then not giving him space, right?
Exactly. It was very upsetting to my FE. Very like I was.
Yes.
I could see how that's.
If I'm typing Taylor's name in like capital letters, that means there's like I was mad. Like I was saying, Taylor, please do something. And so we need your like forest management skills here. Like Also,
that's kind of pointless.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually answer the.
Oh, I was about to say, Kat has a question about apathy to FI matters or something.
I think I didn't answer his question. I'm just gonna answer really quick. I'm just gonna say something that I do that's kind of weird. I turn on the fan and I put on like I'm shirtless and with like a blanket on when I'm doing my homework. I don't know. Like shirtless with a blanket on and with a fence on. That's why I do my homework. Funny. Yeah. My mom is like just put on a t-shirt. Like, why are you doing that? Like, I don't know. Because and then sometimes like I'm like sometimes I wear a jacket to do homework, or sometimes I'm totally shirtless. Like I don't know what makes me comfortable. I agree with that. Consensus from you guys.
I like a hammock and how is that called? This word, swinging in a hammock. I love that totally. Everything rhythmical is soothing.
Always have that. Always have to have.
Oops.
No,
probably his laptop. Like when it's like at 0% or something, because that happens to me all the time. Mine is at 43 right now, though.
Hi, Brooke. I want to ask one last question, guys. I know we're towards the end. So, last question.
Unmute.
There we go. Oh,
doggo.
Right. The question from Kat, and it's just the last question I think we're going to answer today. It's at the end of your life, what do you want to feel you have accomplished?
Something. At least something.
Enough NI, Kat. I can do that in my own.
That's a loaded question. I don't think anybody likes this.
I have still no answer at 55, so I don't know.
I just want to do whatever I like to do and then get money out of it and then have a happy life, I suppose. That's what I want.
Sounds great. Sounds
and explore the world, gaining new knowledge.
Understand everything.
I'd like to leave some kind of positive impact, like just something good.
Yeah, I think like my area of usefulness or impact is that there's just like a lot of systems out in the world that like sort of fallen that way by inertia and don't make much sense and don't work for the people in them. So I guess I want to feel like I've made a dent at some of them, that they've been set up in some better way. I think at a more intellectual level, I know that like the meaningful thing is to love people and to be kind and things like that. But because of socionics or whatever, it's not the most natural brain mode. So I guess to have made a dent in the system stuff, but in a loving way and not some Machiavellian way that I don't believe in,
Yeah, I think for me it's very much around socionics. I want to see socionics realized. I want it to be something which everyone's had a chance to actually look into and benefit from, and find all the different ways in which it can also benefit people. I think there's so much there to tap into. So I want to sort of shift it into a position when that can start to ferment and gestate and just sprout in all sorts of different areas. I think that's what I want to feel I've accomplished at the end of the day. I wouldn't mind becoming prime minister as well. That would be fun. But I think to be realistic, I think I do want the socionics thing to have been realized. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I think at 35 I would have had a lot of answers maybe, but I kind of diminished them over time somehow. I don't know. I had more answers at being younger than I have now, and I like that. It's a good thing.
Makes sense. So it's like the possibilities are, now that you're further along in your lifespan than some of us, it's in fact, more of those have already been explored, so there are fewer left.
That's, and also if you are realistic, you see you cannot start a lot anymore. Like something maybe, but I still like I still do not know what I want, and I somehow I approach life differently now. At some point you think, why did I never commit, and why did I never really be ambitious and stuff like that? But I start seeing it differently now, especially that SI aspect. I cannot really explain it, but I start see experiencing it differently, and I like that I do not have all the answers anymore. I think it's a great thing. Actually.
Yeah,
Because
I'm sure that's where I'll be at. Like, I think, you know, the idea that these whatever any like paths that are in front of me are not followed, like that's something that I can keep up for a little while, or keep up if it's an actual, you know, rule, something I agreed to. But I'm sure I'll just be like, I did a bunch of stuff. Now let me analyze all this stuff and see what I was up to, and I'll pretend that it was some very purposeful thing this whole time.
Pretend. I like that. The way you use that word there.
Also when I do not remember much usually, and I do not like thinking about the past, but when I start talking, someone asking and stuff, I think, yeah, I really did a lot of things. And it's great, kind of great.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, I'm 18 years old, so like I don't really know, like I actually has been one of the like biggest struggles for me in college, like to find out what I want to do with my life. But what I want to feel like that I have accomplished, I will say that I have like had me I will say sort of have explored so many topics and so many different ideas different I would say scholarly areas, to the point where like I have a more holistic understanding, just to like to the point where I just feel satisfied or fulfilled with my knowledge, and that I can share it with other people as well. Like basically to reach that point where I'm so knowledgeable that I feel comfortable sharing with people who are younger than me in a certain way. And yeah.
Thank you, Giancarlo. I think
that's
a question we need to ask today. I think we've gone on for 2 hours now. Are people happy to finish? Do people want to go on longer?
I could go longer but it's up to them.
I'm just along for the ride, so.
Yeah, I could do another 15, 30 minutes, you know.
Okay.
I think I've got to bed. It's already 11 here.
Okay, I think maybe we can go on for another 15 minutes, maybe, and then maybe you should finish, just so we can beat all the other types who only went on for 2 hours.
SLE.
Yeah, there we
SLE.
go.
I really want to watch that.
They one up us. Okay, any other? See what other questions I can find. Let's see.
About romantic relationships and SEIs.
Oh, where was that? Where was the one?
Quite far up.
Oh, that's what they disappeared. We talked for so long, we missed.
Yeah, they're always on.
Trying to find them. I'm not sure. I can't find many questions here. There's one that John asked Brooke specifically. That's not. Oh, here's one from Instars. Here's a good one. Do you relate to the ILE Archetypes of Don Quixote? Have you read The Ingenious Gentleman Don Quixote of La Mancha?
I at least bought it. But,
I own various works of classic literature that I've read 10 pages of.
I did not even read Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or stuff like that. But yeah, kind of. I like that character sometimes, but
No, it's sort of jousting at windmills and sort of.
Brooke, are you talking?
Yeah, you're muted. Yeah, you are muted, Brooke.
Nah, I think Brooke's talking to someone else at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I think she was. Yeah.
Didn't want to disturb him. So, okay. Yeah, so we're quite related to Don Quixote.
What did you say? Could you say it again? You do or you don't?
I've never really, because I always thought he was some sort of crazy guy who thinks he's a knight and starts going on sort of illusion, but he's not a knight. And I don't think ILE is the type that just gets a delusion and runs after. They get ideas they think could work, and they try to make that work, even though they think it might not work out. But they think they can make it work if they just find a good solution. But I think that's the same as actually believing you are a knight or believing you are something which you obviously are not. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's inherent to ILEs.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on that. Like the way I see it is that I have like an idealized version of myself, and I know I am aware that that's not like realistic, or it's very far from my current reality. But I just whenever I have like free time, or like during vacation or anything where I don't have any tasks to complete, I like to sort of dive in deeper into my own and just imagine like how my life will be, like how imagine myself like being this sort of like I don't know, political figure or fighter or something like that. I like to like have a very idealized version of myself.
Same.
Yeah, I think that's what Don Quixote Knight it's about. Like it's not like he like it's I think
he
it's
has
meant
a
to
code,
be
right?
Yeah.
I think
He has a code. He has a code of what he thinks. I like a word here. What? And he sticks to that code, and also he tries the impossible sometimes. But the delusional part is something I do not really like about that figure. But I like that he sticks to his principles that he decided on. I think he was reading a book about knights. This person in the book, and then deciding to subscribe to that code of behavior. And that is a part, like Jan said, I really like about it.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think
he's
that,
also
like,
silly. It's a silly old man somehow, and that is not so. But he's also childlike. Okay, go on.
Oh, me? Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, Don Quixote sort of represents, I mean, I was like, I was kind of delusional in that way when I was like a child. I used to like play with my toys around and pretend I was this sort of figure all the time. I think that Don Quixote like represents sort of like the inner world of the ILE in that sense. I mean, not externally so, like unless a person has some sort of like cluster A disorder or something, like I don't like, you know, being totally delusional, living like a life like that totally incongruent with your current reality. I don't think that's something else. That's not ILE. That's something else.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's supposed to be a sort of archetype of the social role of an ILE, which is to just like go ahead and do something if it seems like why not? Why has nobody else done this? And that in contrast to like an LIE who's really like going more like I see an actual opportunity that reality is telling me about. It's just like why not do this? And in the book, I guess it's a little bit silly, but you know, I think they can start movements, can start groups, can just by like let's try this and maybe something stuck. I mean, Jack, surely you relate to that to some extent. You've just sort of, I'm sure, you know, you've started some things that we know about. I'm sure you started some things that we don't know about because they were failures, right?
Oh, I started plenty of stuff.
So it's
I think the idea I needed was nobility also. I want to add nobility.
Pioneer.
Right?
I'm thinking of that word, like pioneer.
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce it. Yeah, I think that's the idea.
Yes.
Like being pioneering in something, like being the first one to discover this thing, coming up with this.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen pioneer used as the name for the LIE actually. It's interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that. Or the entrepreneur, I prefer rather than pioneer. Yeah, I at least be very pioneering. Here's one from John. Views on substance abuse within reason, and whether they participate in straight edge culture. I'm not sure what straight edge culture is.
What is straight edge culture?
That means that you basically do not do any kind of drugs. Alcohol will not do it. Stay far away from it. Kind of straight and narrow.
I'm sort of in between. I'm straight edgy when it comes to the drug stuff. I haven't really tried any drugs. No. I worked one time on those balloons with like nitrous oxide in it, and I really hated it, and I never tried it.
I like marijuana, but it's legal here, so I can say that, and that's okay. But alcohol makes me sick. Like I have a couple of drinks, and then like I'm gonna be hungover the next day. So
I loved alcohol when I was young, but I also get headache, and I did spend a lot of time with musicians and drugs and stuff. And after a very bad experience, I never touch it again, and I avoid people that like it. Also. So I became straight edge then, but I did not do a lot. Just okay. Yeah.
Okay, you're still became straight edge. I find bad experiences. Like I had a bad experience with too much whiskey one night, and it was just awful. I'm either very boring drunk, or I just like then get ashamed. I'm either an ashamed drunk or a boring drunk, and just never.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm very happy when I'm drunk.
Yeah, I am too. Happy and friendly.
Yeah, I would drink.
I always feel
all
really
the
bad
time.
the next day.
Yeah, that's it. I would definitely drink often if I could, but I can't.
Yeah, I think. I think I take a similar like moderate position as with the identity politics thing. It's like I don't really see the need to view it as like this evil forbidden fruit unless someone is alcoholic or something like that. It has its place, but I don't know. The kinds of people who are like, unless you've taken LSD, like don't share your thoughts about the world because you don't understand life. Like, then it's just like, I don't know.
No.
Like Jack was saying before, like, aren't you a person? Like, don't you have the power to like create your own reality apart from this substance or culture around it?
I like being sober also very much, and really, it's you do not miss anything, I guess.
I mean, people think I'm drunk anyway, so why should I get drunk?
I mean, yeah, naturally high. Naturally high.
Not getting out. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
I would say.
I was gonna. Oh, go ahead.
I'm done.
Oh, okay. So, I will say that like substance use, like I don't really like. I think that my opinion in general is that people should be free to to do with their bodies as they please, as long as it's not having repercussions on other people or as long as it's not sort of damaging others, the people around them. For instance, with smoking. And myself, I don't do any drugs just because I don't want to take the risk of becoming an addict and then like plummeting when it comes to productivity and just in general like falling behind in school and stuff like that. But I don't think that people who use substances are bad, or I don't think it's a bad thing by itself. Like I think that in life, like you have to explore things and just like I don't think there's anything wrong with that exploration unless it becomes like something dangerous to your own health. But again, who are you to decide what other people does to their bodies? Like I don't think that unless you're a doctor or someone with expertise in the subject, like I don't think you have the right to be judging or sort of more like morality, like morally pushing other people or imposing your moral views on others. I don't agree with that. Yeah, that's in general. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. No, I very much think so. There's one point I used to because I was always told by my mother that drugs are bad. I used to try to stop people from taking drugs at school because I thought, I got to hold up the rules here. Can't have drugs. But now I'm like, I don't know. I just don't want to do it myself so much. I find that I don't like not being sober. I find it doesn't create the buzz I'm looking for, and so it's not actually well, it just gets irritating.
It's difficult enough to focus for me and stuff like that, and so I really like being sober usually. And also I did not like the kind of people that were doing drugs a lot because they all get really lazy, and that is maybe that's my experience really. So I did not like the whole vibe of people who do lots of that. And I really avoid that. And I can smell it from far away, and I really avoid that. So, yeah.
Okay. Here's a question from Kat. Would you guys mind discussing if you feel more apathetic to introverted ethics matters, or if you freak out about them? I've seen and heard both spectrums.
I think it kind of depends on the situation. Like, I'm trying to think of an example. Can someone like pose a scenario?
I am
that would help. It's kind of hard for me to like think about FI stuff because
same. I can't really.
I don't even really. I kind of just ignore it.
I think I know what sort of a nightmare situation for me is if I've gotten to know a group of people for a while, right? Say a few months, and we got into sort of actually going in there and actually being accepted into that group. And if I say something that is meant to, cheer people up, and I say it in the wrong way, and suddenly the mood stops, everyone goes silent, everyone looks.
We'll all be dead someday anyway.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
It's like,
it's one of those. And then suddenly everyone looks at you like the mood's changed completely. Everyone's looking at you, they got 3 heads. And then someone says you're a scumbag. How dare you say that? And then suddenly you find everyone's looking at you like you're awful.
I get mad.
A nightmare situation. But I don't know. But I think that becomes one perhaps because more of the extroverted ethics and introverted sensation. And how it affects how FI, by not being paying attention to that, has ruined extroverted ethics and introverted sensation. What do you guys think?
Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I missed part of it because I was typing, but I think I'm more in the freak out section. Like I want to know this stuff and to get it right, but that doesn't get processed the right way, and I know that I'm sort of searching in the dark a bit.
Yeah, I feel like the stereotype of FI polar is that, you say asshole things and don't really give a fuck what anyone says. Whenever really it's more like you're kind of freaking out, like, oh my God, did I just go too far? I didn't mean to do that. And then it's like I kind of like go over it and over it and over it in my head instead of just being like, haha, black people suck, fuck you, and walking off, which is kind of the trolley stereotype.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I kind of feel like I did it just now. So
that's why I doubted I was ENTP, because as a little child, I could see myself saying, haha, black people suck, something like that. But as I grew older and FE became a stronger scale, like I started noticing how me going too far with my jokes and my humor became like very like disruptive to sort of like the FESI like ideal of a harmonious environment. And because I early on, like I just will clash with people all the time because of that. So right now I am very like I'm very very towards the freak out side, because
I get very self-conscious about it.
Same, yeah,
it's hurtful sometimes, and sometimes I think I'm really apathetic. Also, I'm still trying to think about something, and I think I try to not. Apathetic is better than freak out. I think sometimes it hurts, and most of the time you avoid it. I think. But hard to think of an example even.
I think one thing for me that I've noticed, I think if I remember, Brooke, you may have also had this as well, is acknowledging when we've got a problem with something, acknowledging when something's not really okay with us. And for me, I've acknowledged something's not okay, and I'm not very good at objecting based on I don't feel good about this. And if I object, it's based on the rules. You're not following the rules, but I can't do it in a way where it's just me personally making this.
Like there's nothing to fall back on.
No, I really have an example. I had a problem in a friendship where I, for months, had sleepless nights. I could not find out what is going wrong. I think I still don't know it, but maybe for someone else it's easy to solve. I could not figure it out. In the end, I decided I do not engage anymore. But I could never find out what is the problem even. Maybe that's something. I was just clueless. Why is it so difficult for me? What is wrong here?
Yeah,
I cannot even describe it to someone so that they help me somehow. I only notice something is very off, and I cannot say, yeah. Do you, Andre?
For me, it's not just rules. It's almost just like that I have to reframe the problem I have in terms of a sort of TI morality, that like there is some universal ways that one should and shouldn't do things, and if I'm uncomfortable, like it must go against that. And that's like when I get into arguments, that's usually why, because it's like before I notice, I'm off on this trip that's like because something is very off, like either I'm wrong or they're wrong, because there is this TI truth out there, and I need to protect myself from me being the one that's wrong, or maybe blame myself and run away. Yeah,
and in this situation for over a long time I could not find anything. I could just not make sense of it, who is wrong and who is doing what, and I only noticed that it's something is very wrong, but I could not find any thinking approach to it. What is going? I still don't know it really. Long ago, but I could not explain what went wrong. So and when you say you try, yes, I tried that too. Checking everything. What should I have done? What should the other person have done? Did they wrong to me? Did I wrong to them? I couldn't figure it out. So that's maybe an example. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure whether it's an example.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of had a similar like struggle back in high school. Yeah, it's like whenever there's like a list of rules I'm supposed to follow, I try to sort of internally reason them out myself and try to follow them according to my personal understanding of those rules. And if someone points out that I'm breaking the rules but their explanation is not logically consistent. For instance, like let's say that like you are not supposed to you're not supposed to speak while people are praying, but something happened, maybe I am, my mother is feeling sick, and so I told my mom, hey mom, come over here, and people got mad at me for interrupting. No, there is a reason why I did that, like in a certain way. Like I get very defensive when that comes up, because I know it's a vulnerable spot for me. Like I've always, because sometimes I go too far with what I say. People like sometimes people will avoid me or start socially cornering me away. I mean, not anymore, but it happened a lot in elementary school. I kind of have that trauma of like, I'm going too far. I need to apologize, or that's why I say sorry a lot now. Before.
Yeah, but the lesson you get somehow, I think, is as an ILE, you cannot just be yourself. I do not know whether other types also experience that, but for me, oftentimes it was a bit like that. And what you say also sounds like this. I just cannot be me, myself. That doesn't work. I need to figure out how it works with people. I don't know whether that makes sense to you, but for me, it was a bit like that.
Yeah, I think those are all the questions around now. Shall we draw this to a close now? Any thoughts that people have, just to finish off, maybe?
Curious if the audience has learned anything today, or has any takes on anything from like seeing a bunch of ILEs in the same space. Like I noticed from the LIIs that they would all, very rigorously take turns, like think for a while, like minimal facial language. Like, I don't know, anything people noticed about us, anything we noticed about us.
I noticed that sort of impulsive desire to speak and then holding back, speaking and holding back, and trying to navigate that sort of environment with 5 people. Where I found for some of the introverts, it wasn't so much of an issue. There's less people trying to there's less jockeying. But I think for us, we're not just jockeying, we also really don't want to talk over anyone else at the same time as really being eager to speak, and sort of navigating that sort of awkward, I want to speak, but I don't want to speak over anyone else sort of situation.
Guilty.
That's me.
I also noticed
Always
we
me.
talked a lot about like, does that make sense? Is that right? Like questioning whether or not we came off the right, like communicating. We want to make sure that what we're communicating is being received and interpreted in the way we intended. Which maybe that's just a human thing, but I noticed it a lot here.
Yeah.
I know that John Paul really likes the glasses thing. I used to wear contact lenses a lot more often, but since I got these glasses, which are ridiculously expensive and which have no rims, they're just rimless glasses and they turn dark in the sun. I thought, these are such cool glasses and they cost so much. Why on earth would I wear contact lenses anymore? So,
I was about to go digital, so I put contacts in so they wouldn't be falling down my face because I have cheap glasses because I never really wear them. So.
Okay. In which case, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and offering, your reflections and your experiences as fellow intuitive logical energizers. Although I might now be an SLE rather than ILE. We have to call that
SLE chap.
Time to join the beta club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice meeting you guys.
Thank you for organizing, Jack.
Thank you for all turning up. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
and thank you for tuning in.
Bye, everyone.